What is the one thing that you can do right now to get started on real estate syndications? The answer is to watch. Drum roll. It's actually really simple. It's really boring, and you may hate me for this video. The one thing you can do to get started on real estate syndications is to watch webinar recordings. Now, I just said it. It's probably not what you expected. And let me explain. When I was starting off on my own syndication journey, I flew to Dallas literally every month. At the time, I was very frugal, for the lack of a better word. To see my story on frugality, you can watch this video at the upper right hand corner. My real estate business partner, Edward Sittler, had a 1-bedroom apartment in Dallas. We bought a mattress in the living room for me to sleep in. In the evening, we will order pizza and we watch the webinar recordings by other journal partners that were in our mentorship program. We will watch the whole recording. We will watch for how they presented the deal, how they analyzed the deal, and we compared those underwriting with our own underwriting. It was that honing of a skill set that really made us the journal partners that we are today. The reason that watching webinar recordings works is that you get the most distilled, no nonsense version from the journal partners. Journal partners know that the webinar where they present the structure of the deal, the address, the property, the purchase price, how much the investors will make, what's their business plan, what's the financial projections, all of that is in that 30-45 minute webinar recording. So they know this is usually 100 people, sometimes 200 people will show up for the webinar, and probably another 200 people will watch the webinar afterwards. This is their shiny moment. So they put the most thought into that webinar. In my case, when we do our webinars, we literally write out every sentence that we are going to say. We have 2 screens and we have a teleprompter that's on the screen that read it out almost verbatim. Better to do it that version than to mess up some words and give confusing or conflicting results. And because it's the most important thing that the general partners can say to the investors to convince on joining a syndication, you know that's their highest end work. If a business knows that this thing is most popular, they will put the most thought into preparing it. So as an example, my parents owned a humble Chinese American restaurant when I was growing up. And they knew that when the Americans came to our restaurant, they care most about General Tso's chicken.
I love the General Tso's chicken.
For better or for worse. So instead of, I hate General Tso's chicken, it's so non-native Chinese food, and just like dismiss it, we as a business take preparing General Tso's chicken seriously because we know that is the most popular thing on the menu. So if we don't do a good job on that dish, everyone who tried that dish, by definition is the most popular, will not give a second chance with any other dish that we have. And then conversely, if that dish is really good, they will have the benefit of doubt with other dishes on our menu. This business idea applies across the board. With our company, we have a sister company called Cashflow Portal, and our company is Cashflow Marketplace. And because we're doing so well on Cashflow Portal, people give us the benefit of doubt on Cashflow Marketplace. So what that means is that because the journal partners know that this webinar is extremely important, they will put the most thought into it. And conversely, if the webinar is unprofessional and unprepared, then you know everything else from that point is a downhill. If the GPs put in the work to make the webinar look professional and they prepare for it, they're gonna carry the same attitude into the rest of the syndication. How you do anything is how you do everything. It's a brutal truth, it's a harsh truth, but that's also the reality. The magic of syndication is that you don't need to know too much about real estate syndication or real estate investing in general to evaluate whether this is the right thing for you, because you can reduce a real estate investing problem into a judgment on quality of people. Second reason you understand the vocabulary. One way to learn is have a dictionary and just go through what does this term mean, what does IRR, what does AAR, what does equity multiple, what does an 80% return, what's a GP split, what's an asset management fee, what's an acquisition fee, blah, blah, blah. The first time you hear it, you're like, I don't understand any of this. The second time you hear it, it's like, okay, this is starting to make a little bit more sense. By watching the webinar, you get yourself familiar with the vocabulary. Now, it's all still English. It's just English is hard. And there are many words in the English language. And promise you, it's not like it's like 1,000 words you need to learn. You literally need to know like 10 to 15 important words and 5 really important words. English is not my first language. Chinese is my first language. I was taught that the best way to learn English is to watch American TV shows like Friends and Breaking Bad.
Really makes sense. Kinda.
And that's how I have always been taught, which is put yourself into the midst of everything. The way to learn how to swim is by being in the water and almost drowning.
Seems harsh.
So the first time you watch the webinar, you're gonna get so confused, but that pain is useful. That's good. That's the fastest way you learn. Third reason is that you understand what is important. In the webinar, toward the last 30 minutes, people ask questions. How do you plan about the variable interest rate? What do you do with the bridge loan? What's your plan when your rate cap expires? And then you're like, interest rate? Rate cap? Expire? Reversion cap rate? What does this even mean? But the fact that people are asking that question means that that thing is important. And if you watch 5 of them and 4 of the webinars talk about the same terms, you're like, okay, whatever it is, that thing is important. The best way to learn is about association and pattern matching. This is like stupid ideology. You walk into a conference and it's supposed like you are alien coming to Earth without knowing anything about human etiquette. But for whatever reason, you understand English. So you understand everything we're saying and you don't know anything about the culture. So you walk into a typical conference networking thing in America. You talk to 5 people. By the end of 5 people, you probably understand that what you do is very important in America. Because every conversation, people, oh, what do you do for a living? So it's similar. By just watching 5 different webinars, you immediately know, okay, that's important. Fourth reason you should watch the webinar is that you don't waste journal partners' time. The last thing you want to do is ask journal partner 20 different questions that were already mentioned in the webinar. Syndication is a two-way business. Journal partners are very accomplished people. They're also very busy people. So do your part, show good etiquette, and don't ask stupid questions. I'm sorry for saying it, but it's that. Fifth reason, to watch the webinar, you usually have to register for the webinar. By registering, the journal partner will recognize your name. By participating in the webinar, you show that you are willing to take time out of your schedule and try to learn syndication. That puts you in the GP's I like this person column. Now, you might say, Perry, I don't know any journal partners. I don't know how to watch their webinars. I don't have access. I don't want to make this a promotional video, but on Casual Marketplace, we understand that's a problem. So we create an education tab where if you go in, you can see the historical webinars by the journal partners who want to show that for educational purposes. Because it's previous webinars, they are not using it to raise money, but it shows you what a good high quality webinar looks like. So you have this very rich, immersive library of content in which you can watch as many webinars as you want. If you were to ask me what's the best way to do anything, my answer to you is to jump in and get started. Take action and watch a couple webinars. Thanks for watching this video. Happy investing.